2 weeks ago, my mother rang my doorbell for the first time in 9 years. She came with a beige sweater, a small rolling suitcase, and a folded piece of paper. That paper was not an apology. It was a list. 5 bullet points. A total of $925,000. She didn't say she was sorry. She didn't ask about her grandchildren. She just said, "We need to talk about the family's future." What she didn't know was that I had spent 9 years building a list of my own. I grew up in Millfield, Ohio. Population 2,000. One Baptist church, one barbershop, one diner that always smelled like coffee and bacon. My father Kenneth worked at a sawmill for 31 years. My mother Diane ran the household and the church women's committee with the same quiet precision she applied to everything: menus, budgets, the order in which people were allowed to matter. My sister Paige was everything I wasn't. Loud, confident, homecoming queen. Mom adored her. Dad called her his sunshine. I was the quiet one. The one who washed dishes without being asked and got perfect scores in mathematics without anyone throwing a party about it. At 18, I earned a full scholarship to Ohio State University. I was the first archer to go to college. My mother packed my bag herself and slipped a card inside. It said, "Come back soon. This is where you belong." I kept that card for 15 years. It was the last kind thing she ever wrote to me. I met Marcus Ellison in advanced statistics during my junior year. He solved regression problems the way most people read a grocery list, quickly, naturally, like the numbers were already there waiting for him. He was quiet, methodical, never in a hurry. Biracial, son of a retired school librarian named Cora, who had raised him alone while working 2 jobs. Our first date was at a taco stand near campus. We paid with loose change and talked until they closed and turned off the lights. He told me he wanted to build something that solved a real problem. I told him I wanted to work with numbers that actually mattered. He said, "Then we're in the right field." We dated 3 years before he proposed. Not with a ring first, with a conversation at our kitchen table. He said, "I want to spend my life with you. Will you let me?" I said yes before he finished the sentence. That night I called home. My mother answered on the 3rd ring. I gave her the news. The line went quiet. I counted the seconds. 7. Then she said, "You need to think about what this means for this family." No congratulations. No warmth. Just a warning dressed up as concern. 2 weeks later, a handwritten letter arrived. Diane Archer's cursive on cream paper. The final paragraph said, "If you go forward with this, you are choosing him over your family. We will not attend. And if you walk down that aisle, do not expect to walk through our door again. He is not one of us, Iris. He never will be." I read the letter 3 times. I folded it and put it in a manila folder. Something in me, that part of me that keeps receipts and labels bank statements, said to keep it. I didn't know then that it would become the first entry in the most important document I would ever build. We married at the county courthouse on a Saturday in June. 12 guests. All friends. All from Marcus's side. His mother Cora flew in from Cleveland with a garment bag and a container of pound cake. She pinned a silk flower to my dress, took both my hands in hers, and said, "Welcome to the family, sweetheart." There was no father to walk me down an aisle. There was no aisle, just a hallway with fluorescent lights and a judge who mispronounced both our names. My dress cost $160 from a consignment shop. Marcus wore a navy suit from a clearance rack. We looked like 2 people doing the most important thing of their lives on a tight budget. Because we were. That night, sitting on the edge of the bed with a grocery store bouquet of roses in my hands, my fingers trembled. Not from doubt. From grief. I had just gotten married and the 2 people who raised me hadn't wanted to see it. A week later, I mailed a card to Millfield with our wedding photo inside. I wrote, "We are happy. I hope someday you can be happy for us." The card came back 11 days later. Red stamp. Return to sender. I put it in the manila folder. I wrote in red pen at the top. Item 2. Wedding photo. Returned. That was the beginning of the folder. Year 1 was the hardest. I called 4 times and got voicemail. I sent birthday cards and Christmas cards. They all came back with the same red stamp. My father sent one text message in February. For words, your mother needs time. That was all. My sister Paige posted a family photo on Facebook with the caption, Sunday dinner with my people. I was not in the photo. I was never invited. I started archiving everything. Every return card. Every unanswered call log. Every piece of evidence that my family had decided I no longer existed. I transferred it all to a 3-ring binder with dark blue cover and red ink tabs, organized year by year. In year 2, Marcus quit his job. He had a plan. For 6 months, he had been building a prototype on nights and weekends, a regulatory compliance platform for small businesses, the kind of software that made SEC filings less painful for companies that couldn't afford a full legal team. He built the engine. I built the dashboard. Neither of us slept enough. Compliance Corp launched 7 months later with 4 clients and a free version that crashed twice on the first day. Liam and Sophie arrived on a Wednesday in November. 6 pounds each. Identical dark curls. Sophie cried for 4 hours straight. Liam slept through everything. Marcus held them both in front of the hospital window and said, "They're going to know they are loved every single day of their lives." Cora flew in the next morning. She stayed 2 weeks, cooked, cleaned, rocked Liam at 3 in the morning, brought a handmade quilt and 2 silver bracelets engraved with each baby's birth date. That was what a grandmother looked like. I had mailed the ultrasound photos to Millfield 5 months earlier. Returned. I sent birth announcements. Returned. I sent a photo of Liam asleep on Marcus's chest, another of Sophie's tiny hand wrapped around my finger. 3 more items for the binder. Items 13, 14, and 15. Paige wrote to a mutual friend, her kids don't have real grandparents. That's what she chose. I reread that message 11 minutes sitting in the nursery with Liam in my arms and Sophie asleep in her crib, listening to Cora in the kitchen humming something soft while she washed bottles. My children did have a grandmother. Her name was Cora Ellison, and she flew from Cleveland every 6 weeks. Item 16. Red ink. Dated. Year 7. Compliance Corp closed a Series B round. $12 million from a venture capital firm in San Francisco. Post-investment valuation. $68 million. Marcus and I held 22%. We weren't rich yet, but the numbers were pointing somewhere that had previously only existed in my spreadsheets. I left my analyst job and joined Compliance Corp as CFO. 2 weeks after the TechCrunch article, a friend sent me a message. Your mom asked someone at church what Series B meant. Thought you should know. I reread it slowly. My mother hadn't said my name in 7 years. She didn't know what Series B meant, but she wanted to. The numbers were changing and Diane Archer was paying attention. I didn't call her. I archived the message. Item 27. Then her name showed up in the family chat screenshot that Paige had accidentally included in a group she forgot I was still part of. Item 28. Paige had written, make a list. Be specific. She's a numbers person. She'll respond to numbers. And below that, Diane's response. She has more money than this whole town. She can help her family. I printed it. I put it in the binder behind the red tab for year 7. And then, on a Thursday morning 2 weeks ago, my doorbell rang for the first time in 9 years. I opened the door, and there she was. My mother. 61 years old. Beige sweater, small rolling suitcase, reading glasses on a chain around her neck that I didn't recognize because I had missed 9 years of her aging. She looked like the woman who raised me and like a stranger at the same time. She said, Iris. 1 word. My name. She said it like she was testing whether it still fit in her mouth. I said, Mom. I stepped back and let her in. I did not take her to the living room. I took her to the kitchen. The kitchen had good light, and the refrigerator covered in Cora's photos and the twins' drawings and the world map where Sophie had been marking countries she wanted to visit someday. In this house, the truth lived in the kitchen. I put 2 glasses of water on the table. No coffee. Coffee was for people who were staying. She sat. She unfolded the paper. She read it aloud. Retirement fund for her and my father, $500,000. College fund for Paige's son Thomas, $200,000. Medical expenses, my father's knee surgery, $45,000. Mortgage payoff on the family home, $180,000. Monthly support $3,000. She folded the paper, placed it on the table between us, and said, "This is what families do, Iris. Your father worked his whole life. He sacrificed everything for you. It's time to give back." I looked at the list. $925,000. Calculated, itemized, presented like an invoice. Without a single apology attached to it. Without a single question about the grandchildren she had never met. I sat with that for a moment. Just a moment. Then I stood up and walked to my office. The bottom drawer was exactly where I had left it. Behind the tax folders, behind the old insurance documents. I pulled out the dark blue binder. 3 rings. Heavy, with 9 years of documentation. I carried it back to the kitchen and set it on the table next to her list. 2 documents. Hers. 1 page. 5 items. $925,000. Mine. 29 items. 9 years. 0 apologies received. "What is that?" she asked. "You brought a list, Mom." I brought one too. I opened the binder to tab 1, year 1, and I began to read. I did not raise my voice. I did not cry. I did not perform. I read the way I read quarterly reports to the board of directors. Factual, organized, item by item. As I read, I reached into the binder and started pulling out the returned envelopes one by one. All of them still sealed with red stamps. I laid them across the table in a row, like evidence in an audit. "These are the birthday cards I sent you every year for 9 years. All returned." "Iris, I haven't finished." "I have." I kept going. Voicemail transcripts. Unanswered call logs. Screenshots from the family group chat. Diane's eyes began to fill. The tears came. The same theatrical tears I had watched her deploy my entire childhood when my father forgot their anniversary, when the church committee challenged a decision she had already made. I recognized the mechanism. She was hurt, and she wanted me to feel responsible for that. "Iris, you chose him over us." "I didn't leave. You told me not to come back." I was upset. People say things when they're upset. I turned to item 16. Paige's message about my children not having real grandparents. Then item 26, the screenshots from the family chat. I read aloud. "Make a list. Be specific. She's a numbers person. She'll respond to numbers." Pause. "And your response, Mom? She has more money than this whole town. She can help her family." Diane's theatrical tears dried instantly. Something harder replaced them. "You had no right to read that." I held her gaze without blinking. "You had no right to return photos of my children." The kitchen went very quiet. Not an uncomfortable quiet, a weighted one. The kind that arrives when 2 people have finally run out of performances and are sitting with only the truth between them. Then I reached for a different envelope. Same white paper, same red stamp, but this one was different. The flap was wrinkled. The original adhesive had been carefully cut and resealed with a strip of clear tape. Item 23. Birthday card, year 7. Inside I had included a photo of Sophie at her school autumn festival. On the back I had written, "Sometimes they ask about you. I tell them you live far away." This one was opened, I said. Someone looked at her face, and then sealed it back up and returned it anyway. Diane's jaw tightened. "Who opened it, Mom?" Silence. "Dad opened it. He wanted to keep it. And you made him send it back." Her hands were flat on the table, eyes fixed on the envelope and the clear tape. She whispered something so low I almost missed it. I was afraid. If I let him keep it, if I let any of it in, I was going to have to admit I was wrong. That I wasted 9 years for nothing. That I pushed away my grandchildren because I was too proud to. Her voice broke. She stopped herself. For 1 second, maybe 2, I saw something real in her face. Not performance. Not manipulation. Real fear. The kind that lives underneath anger long enough that it forgets any other way to come out. It was brief. Honest. And then it was gone. Her chin lifted. Her posture stiffened. "But you left us, Iris. You made your choice." The moment of honesty evaporated like steam off a cup of coffee. Gone before I could hold it. I placed her list to the left of the table and my binder to the right. Your list, $925,000, 5 items, no apology. My list, 29 items, 9 years of silence. 9 years of return cards and ignored grandchildren. And a daughter you erased because she married the wrong man. I didn't erase. You told the church I had abandoned you. You told Paige my children had no real grandparents. You tracked my husband's company for months and showed up at my door with a detailed invoice. I closed the binder. The metal rings clicked shut. You didn't come here because you missed me, Mom. You came because the numbers changed. She stood up. The chair scraped against the floor. After everything we did for you, the food, the clothes, your education, this is how you repay us. I looked at her steadily. You raised me. That's not a debt. That's what parents do. She opened her mouth. We gave you everything. I nodded. You gave me a card that said come back soon. And then you told me not to come back. She had no answer for that. You said he was not one of us. But for 9 years his mother was the only grandmother my children ever knew. The words hung in the kitchen like smoke. At that moment Marcus walked in through the laundry door.
He saw Diane.
He saw the binder on the table. He saw me. He didn't say a word. He set his bag on the counter, walked to where I was sitting, placed his hand on my shoulder, and sat down beside me. That was all. No confrontation. No speech. Just a man sitting beside his wife, because she needed him there. Diane looked at Marcus's hand on my shoulder, at the space between us that required no explanation and no performance. She understood. I didn't need the Archer family. I had already built my own. I spoke quietly.
Mom.
I am not going to give you money. Not because I can't afford to, but because the moment I write that check, you will tell yourself you were right to stay away until it was profitable to come back. You will tell yourself and Paige that this is what family does. That the 9 years were just a rough patch. A misunderstanding. I picked up her list and held it between us. It wasn't a rough patch.
It was a choice.
Your choice. Every return card. Every ignored voicemail. Every photo of your grandchildren you looked at and sent back. She didn't take the list from my hand. If you want to know your grandchildren, truly know them, not as a line item in a financial plan, that starts with an apology. Not to me.
To them.
And it doesn't start today. It starts when you are ready to mean it. Diane picked up her list. She picked up her suitcase. She walked to the front door. She stopped. She turned around. She opened her mouth.
Closed it.
And walked out. The door didn't slam. It clicked. The sound of someone leaving who knows they've lost something that money cannot buy back. 2 weeks passed. I didn't call her. I didn't reach out. I had said what I needed to say. The next move was hers. Then, on a Tuesday morning, my father called. Iris. His voice was different from my mother's, slower, rougher. The voice of a man who had spent 31 years at a sawmill and used his words carefully because he'd learned. They could wear down like machinery if you weren't careful with them. Your mother told me what happened. A pause. I should have opened that door 9 years ago. I should have called. I should have driven to Portland when the twins were born. I should have done a lot of things. His voice cracked on the last word. He pushed through it. I'm sorry. Not about the money. I don't want your money. I want to know my grandchildren. And I need to know if you'll let me try. I sat with that for 17 seconds. I counted them. Not because I was punishing him. Because I needed to know if what I was feeling was trust or just the echo of something I had wanted for so long that I had confused the feeling with the fact. I believe you, Dad. But believing and trusting are different things. We start slowly. Phone calls every 2 weeks. No visits yet. Just talking. That's more than I deserve. It's exactly what you deserve. Not more. Not less. We hung up. The call lasted 4 minutes and 32 seconds. It was the most honest conversation I had ever had with my father. That evening, I did not add a new item to the binder. Paige sent one message. A single line. You could have just helped them. I didn't reply. Some messages are their own answer. My silence was mine. A week later, Diane had not called, had not written. The silence returned, but this time it was coming from her. I had already said everything I needed to say. The next door to open or close was hers. The binder stayed in the bottom drawer. 29 items. 9 years. I didn't add item 30. I was hoping I would never have to. That Friday afternoon I sat at the kitchen table going through the quarterly numbers for Compliance Corporation. Sophie was at the counter doing homework. Liam was somewhere in the house arguing with a video game. Marcus came in at 6, dropped his keys in the bowl, looked at me sitting at the table with my laptop and my spreadsheets and said, "Good day." I said, "Productive." He poured 2 glasses of water, sat across from me, and we spent 20 minutes talking about nothing important. A contractor who had misspelled something in a proposal, a joke Liam had tried to tell at breakfast that hadn't quite landed, the fact that the back garden needed new mulch. Ordinary, quiet, unheroic love. The kind built over 11 years from tacos paid for in loose change and a question asked at a kitchen table. "Will you let me?" I thought about Cora flying from Cleveland every 6 weeks with casseroles and card games and the patience to teach an 8-year-old how to properly shuffle a deck of cards. I thought about the quilt in Sophie's room, the handmade one with the dates stitched in the corner. I thought about what my father had said. I should have opened that door. And I thought about my mother standing in my kitchen with her list, looking at the returned envelopes lined up across the table like exhibits, and understanding for the first time that numbers weren't the only thing I knew how to document. Here is what 9 years of silence taught me. Family is not the people who share your last name. Family is not the people who appear when your net worth changes. Family is the people who show up when your world is small and your garage is cold and your babies need a grandmother. The people who fly from another city every 6 weeks and knit blankets and teach your son how to make a grilled cheese sandwich and sit with you in a hospital hallway at 2 in the morning because you asked them to. That is family. And it was never about the money. It was always about showing up. My mother showed up with a list and a suitcase. Cora showed up with a quilt and her hands. The difference between those 2 women, the difference between what they each brought through my door, is everything I know about what family actually means. The binder is still in the bottom drawer. 29 items. 9 years. I am not adding item 30. Not because the anger is gone. Not because everything is healed. But because I have nothing left to document and everything left to live. The next move belongs to my mother. If she makes it. If she doesn't, the silence will be hers to carry now. I set mine down the day I placed that binder on the table next to her invoice and let her see what 9 years of being erased actually looked like when someone took the time to keep count. She wanted to talk to a numbers person. I gave her the numbers. All 29 of them.